make good referrals. In this module, we're going to talk about response checklists, we're going to talk about brainstorming, we're going to talk about referrals, and a little bit more about self-disclosure. So to start off in Module 4, you have a response checklist. Right, you see a little chart there. 6 steps here. When you go through a response checklist with someone, you should go through these 6 steps. But before you go through the 6 steps, you ask the most important question. When something is the most important question, I would underline it. No, it's a multiple choice, not a true false. You see what I did there? The most important question before you go through the response checklist is, what do you want to have happen? Even though step 1 is, why do you want this to happen? Before you even can go through it, you ask what. What do you want to have happen? This determines whether or not they're ready for the checklist. Because if they cannot articulate what they want their end goal to be, it's going to be kind of hard to come up with a plan to meet that goal. You need to actually know what the goal is before you can make a plan to achieve it. And if they're not able to clearly identify what they want to have happen, maybe you need to do a little bit more of that motivational interviewing, asking them, like, what would a solution look like for you? What are some things that we could do to make you feel more empowered in X, Y, or Z? So the most important question is, what do you want to have happen? Follow that up with the response checklist in step 1. Why do you want this to happen? The why, the reason why they want something to happen, should come from within them. It should come intrinsically. Yes, there could be pressure from others, but they need to own the decision to move forward. If I did what people wanted me to do, if I did what my parents wanted me to do, those external factors, I'd be a doctor right now. I don't like the sight of blood, so I'd be a really bad doctor. I had to make a decision to go forward and decide what I want to do.
You would also still be in school.
I would also still be in school.
And a lot of debt.
Well, I'm already in a lot of debt. 2 private institutions for my degrees and a nonprofit work. So, But why do you want this to happen? Why do you want this to happen? Someone needs to own that decision to move forward, because if it's coming from someone else, not the best motivator. Because it's easier to let someone else down than it is to let yourself down. Step 2 is to do a reality check. When you do a reality check, you think about the solution they've come up with. First one is it reasonable and realistic? For example, who has seen The Devil Wears Prada? Oh yes, a few hands. It's one of those movies that's always on HBO and always in hotel rooms. Like, out of the past 7 weeks on the road, I think it's been on the hotel TV 3 times.
Do you watch it this time?
I do. It's nice to put on the background. Emily Blunt's character is on a specific diet in that movie. Do you remember what that diet is?
No.
No.
She ate like 2 cheese cubes a day.
Her diet in that movie is that she just doesn't eat anything at all. And when she feels like she's about to faint, she eats a cube of cheese. That is her solution.
That's so bad.
It's also, yes, it's so bad, and it's not reasonable, nor is it realistic in the long term. So we do that reality check. Is it able to solve the situation? Mean Girls? Folks have seen that? Yeah? Regina George's diet. Not the Caltine bars. What is Regina George's diet? What? All carbs?
No carbs.
All carbs.
All carbs?
She's on an all-carb diet. She wants to lose 3 pounds. I want cheese fries. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
An all-carb diet to lose 3 pounds. Is that able to solve the situation? Just eating a bunch of bread? As much as I love bread, eating a loaf of pumpernickel bread, probably not the best diet for me. It's not necessarily able to solve the situation. And then the third one, is it a quick fix or is it a long-term solution? At the point in time in my life where all of my friends are getting married, having kids. More importantly, it's the marriage piece. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to fit into their wedding dress. That's why it's more important. Not that marriage is more important than kids. Sorry, I'm backtracking there a bit. They're trying to fit into dresses or tuxedos. So what are they doing the month before their wedding? Juicing, everything. You can't just puree your food for the rest of your life. It's not a long-term solution. It's a quick fix versus a long-term solution. So that's the reality check piece. Considering the solution that you've come up with and making sure that it's able to accomplish those tasks. Step 3 is to make a plan, brainstorm some possible solutions, write them down. This demonstrates that there are many, many choices. 4 is to commit to taking action. Ask that person specifically, do you think that this will work? Can you commit to doing this? Yes, it's a closed-ended question. But if you ask for their commitment, hopefully they'll be honest and say, yes, I think I can do this, or I don't know if this is realistic. Consider some resources that you can help, or that can help them. So remember my stages of change experience? My resources were sort of the nutritionist at the dining hall. Those were those referrals. Reviewed the plan and committed to taking action. Step 5 is reinforcement and forecasting. Asking them, how are you going to know that this is working? Let them know that change is possible, but ask them, so how are we going to know if this is successful or not? Would not have been good for me to say in my stages of change experience, how are you going to know that your plan is working? Well, I'm going to step on the scale and I'm going to be 35 pounds less. Okay? Not going to happen overnight. Not the best forecasting for whether or not it's working or not if I step on the scale after a week at the gym and don't weigh 35 pounds less. But if I step on the scale and every time the number is lower, it's a bit of a goal that's more achievable, I think. So do this forecasting, do that reinforcement. And then step 6, plan the first step and the first reward. Help them come up with step 1. And I will tell you, it is okay to help them go through step 1. Because you might see a similar example on an exam. Someone comes to you and what do they need to do? They want to go to the counseling center. You can easily say, hey, I can walk you over there if you want me to. If that's sort of their ultimate goal, if that's part of their plan. Don't be responsible for making their intake appointment and every other appointment and making sure that you walk with them to every appointment. That's enabling. But I don't know where the counseling center is, or I'm a little nervous going in there for the first time. Cool, you can walk them there. That's fine. That's the first step. Just take the hands off the bicycle, the metaphoric bicycle, after you get them through step 1. It's also good to plan a reward. The reward should come from within the student. It should also not be a counterintuitive reward to what the goal is. So, hey, I want to cut back on my drinking. Cool, after you don't go out this weekend, we just celebrate with a glass of wine on Tuesday. Counterintuitive. Hey, I want to lose 35 pounds from the freshman 35. Cool, after you work out for a week, you can have a pint of Ben & Jerry's. A little counterproductive. But plan that reward, because that way you get to the point where you're going through these steps and you're able to reward yourself. And finally, ask to follow up and see how it's going. So that's the 6 steps of the response checklist. And of course, we have a video to see these in action. I want you to see, we have Megan. Megan is new. You haven't seen Megan in the video yet. She's our boss's daughter, our former boss's daughter. She just retired. She is in the video, and she's helping Adam with a problem that he has, because Adam has plenty of problems, as we've seen. We're going to watch the video, and we're going to see how she helped and what she could have done differently or better.
So let me see if I've heard you correctly. You say that you party 3 to 4 nights a week with the guys from your floor, that you're getting distracted by all the activity on your floor, so it's hard for you to study at night, and now you're having problems with your grades, so you might get put on academic probation. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about it.
Is there anything else you want to mention?
Well, there is one thing. It's just that sometimes I feel kind of depressed. I talked to my dad, and he really wants me to do well here, and I just don't want to let him down.
How do you feel after you talk to him?
Kind of down on myself. I feel stupid.
Do you think this carries over in your classes?
Yeah, definitely. I feel so lost in class. It's like I try to catch up, but I can't keep up with what they're talking about. I just don't know where to go.
So what do you make of this?
I don't know, I guess I need to focus more.
That sounds like a start. What do you think you can do to get more focus?
I don't know, you're the pure helper or whatever.
I am here to help you, but I think you have the answers you need already.
Alright, I need to hang out with my friends less and study more.
Does that sound reasonable?
I guess, but it's hard to say no.
So it sounds like hanging out with your friends is distracting you from studying and getting better grades. Is that right?
Yeah, it just seems like something is always happening. Someone wants to go downtown and someone else wants to play video games. It's hard to say no.
Earlier I heard you say that you're worried about disappointing your dad. Now I'm hearing you say that you're worried about letting your friends down. Sounds like kind of a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, kinda is.
Do you feel like one of those is pulling you more in one direction than the other?
I guess my friends are winning right now. That's why I'm in this mess.
Would you say that not disappointing your dad is a strong motivator for studying more?
It's a pretty good one.
Is there anything else, a reason to work harder or study more?
Well, I definitely want to stay here. I don't want to have to leave school. I'd feel like a complete failure.
I want you to stay here too. Do you think it's realistic to break away from your friends and maybe get some more study time in?
Yeah, probably. I'm usually a little too willing to hang out with them. And if I'm not around, they can't bug me as much.
So, would you like to brainstorm some options for making changes?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, I'm just going to make some notes that you can take with you later. What do you think are some ways for getting time to yourself to study?
I could probably go over to the library after class for a few hours, or maybe that coffee shop down the street.
Yeah, sure. What else?
I don't know.
Do you think it might be helpful for you to meet with your professors and maybe see how you can improve your grades?
Yeah, I could see about their office hours.
Do you have someone from your class that you might be able to study with?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll ask my friend Lisa.
And that way you still have someone to hang out with, but you won't be distracted by all the other activities. How about we build a plan for you? That should make it easier for you to follow through.
Okay.
Go ahead. What will be effective for you?
Alright, tomorrow I'll set up some times to meet with my professors.
Sounds good. And if you want to find a tutor, you can always go to the advising center. You can get one for math or writing or whatever you need.
Yeah, my papers haven't been that great.
Well, what else should we add to your plan?
I'm going to talk to Lisa about studying together. There's a big test coming up and now'll be a good time to start.
That's good. And after class?
Yeah, after class I'm going to go to the library for a few hours to study.
That's good. How does all that sound to you? Does it sound doable?
I think so.
Well, I'm confident you can do it. And now you have a plan, so all you have to do is stick to it.
That feels better than what I started with.
Well, how do you think it'll work?
Good, I hope. I don't know. I've never had a plan before. I can probably do it.
Well, let me ask you something else. How will you know that your plan has been effective?
Obviously my grades will go up.
Okay, what else?
I'll probably feel less distracted and not like I have to go out with the guys.
That's a good point. How are you going to respond to your friends?
I can probably tell them that I have a big test or project to work on, or I can just leave and go someplace else.
I bet you'll find that your friends can understand the big test thing. I mean, they're students too, right? And I think it's a good idea to take charge and leave when you feel like things are getting too chaotic in your hall.
Yeah, hopefully I'm worried about nothing.
Good. I think you should work on this over the next week, and if it's okay, I'll check in with you to see how things are going.
That would be helpful.
Great. I'll give you a call on Tuesday. And maybe if you stuck to the plan, we can go celebrate with dessert. It'll be on me.
Yeah, you're on. Look, I really appreciate your help. And I felt like I was kind of drifting, and you set me on the path.
It's no problem. That's what I'm here for.
All right. So, Adam, sorry, is having lots of issues. What's going on? How'd Megan do? How'd Megan not do? Yeah.
It seems like she went through this, I could tell when she was on the park and stuff, when they made the plan, when
Yeah.
when they reviewed the plan, and when she asked him how he's going to do the plan, and she said that she'd follow up with him and they'd have a reward and stuff.
Yeah. So we did a really good job of scripting this using the response checklist that she was able to hit all the points. Okay. Other thoughts? I heard reactions back here, so.
Well, I was just talking about how I feel that he's getting a lot of girls in his life, like he is Lisa. And I personally feel that Megan's reward kind of sounded like she was asking him on a date a little.
Remember when I said that your reward should come intrinsically? Yes.
Yeah.
That's why that's not a good idea. Because I want to check in the back. Do you have an unlimited ice cream buying budget for your educators? So that's
There's not an unlimited anything budget.
Right? So keeping that in mind, you can't necessarily go out and buy ice cream every time. But if he said, hey, maybe we can get some ice cream, it might have went a little bit differently. Is there anything else that Megan maybe didn't
Maybe
do well?
at the dining hall during lunch.
There we go.
Or dinner, when it's already paid for.
Other thoughts, other things Megan didn't do well? Could have done differently? Yes?
I was gonna say, I feel like they could have also talked about maybe because the video thing was too long, but not too long, just like
No, this is a long one. That's why I walked to the back.
like I feel like they could have talked more about like what he could say to his friends, because I personally think it's a hard thing to say no to your friends
Yeah.
and to go do things with them, and so they definitely focused a lot on like what he could do like academically to like be with his teachers and like that kind of thing, but
Right.
like I
Peer
think,
pressure piece wasn't necessary.
yeah, I think that wasn't as much there. Maybe it just wasn't there because it's like a long clip. But
I would also say he said right at the beginning that he was feeling depressed, and she didn't really talk much about that. That would have been a red flag for me. I want you to make sure that could potentially be a red flag for you. Because to Megan, that might not have meant anything, but we know he's potentially going on academic probation, his grades aren't doing well, he's engaging in high-risk sexual activity, and he's also potentially attempted suicide. 1, 2, 3 red flags. If 3 red flags go to our folks in the back, then they start having a full picture, and it's getting folks into a safety net. That is really where your role comes into play. Because saying like, oh, I'm depressed, well, that should be a little bit serious. I would have dug a little bit deeper in that. So that's my little soapbox 2 cents on there, is to always sort of look for those red flags and hear what the person's really saying, and reporting them to folks who might have 2 or 3 other reports. Because what happens if in video 1 the girl did go and tell her friend, or whomever he was talking about not wearing a condom reported something? Like, all this is now starting to build a story, which is what your role is for on campus to help our students. Because remember, 1 in 4 of you can help save a life, based on our independent statistics. All right, I have talked at you for quite a while. Let's take 5 minutes. Everyone, I would totally recommend standing up and just, even if you do 1 lap around the building,
Go outside, the sun
go outside, the
is
sun is
shining.
out, just make sure. We're going to talk a little bit more about brainstorming to find a solution, helping someone with a brainstorm. So make sure folks are in their teams, because we are going to do
added
sort of
another
a
chair.
team activity here in a second.
Team FM.
But when you start to go through a brainstorm, what you need to do, first step, is to be clear of what the problem and the outcome is. Make a list of suggestions, and recognize that there are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers in brainstorm. I've actually taken to, whenever I do a brainstorm, in meetings or any of that, is to set the bar of stupidity exceptionally low. Because I remember being that introvert in a class or with like upperclassmen who I don't want to give my 2 cents on a topic because I'm afraid it's going to be stupid. So now I'm paying it forward and setting that bar of stupidity exceptionally low. So we want to do a alcohol alternative event on campus. Oh, my suggestion is we have a root beer kegger, and then we do cake stands with root beer cake. Set that bar very low of bad ideas. So if someone else says, oh, my idea's not as bad as that one, and they're willing to give their 2 cents.
I like that.
Funny story. First and only time I've ever done a cake stand was with a root beer kegger at an alcohol alternative event with my residence hall director, is the one who held me up. So, and then I learned that that's not a best practice when it comes to alcohol prevention. Who knew? So yes, try to set that bar of stupidity exceptionally low. There are Facebook photos of me doing that said cake stands. So, given these 3 rules, what I want folks to do is, in your groups, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do a brainstorm. So do a brainstorm of all the needs that you can think of for first-year students, so new students on campus. I want you to do a needs assessment. What are the needs of these students? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. We need one person to write this down. So either on a piece of paper, there is a notes page in the very back of the white book. So make sure you have a writer. You have 2 minutes to write down as many solutions or options as possible of what are the needs of first-year students. All right? Ready and go. All right. Yes. Oh. We're getting there.
I'm ready.
Okay. So this is Manna.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So Manna, how many did you get? Manna had 18. All right. How about the FMs?
10, I think.
But ours are like very more. Some of them are very like broad. Then we go deeper. And we
They're
have
deeper.
more.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, we're
So
a
you got-
deep group.
You're deeper. Okay, so that's why you got half of what they got. Got it. All right. How about you all? Master Co.
I'm gonna take that and I probably
8. All right. So you had 8. You had 18.
Oh, we had 10.
And you had 10. Sorry, and you had 10. Okay, yes, you had 10. You're in the middle. How did you get almost twice as many as them?
We were like
We
we
had
had
some
some
we all yelled at
and
them.
also I was us two, we were freshmen this past year.
Okay.
You're gonna be a junior, right? And
Yeah.
you're junior, yeah. So they
And
were,
like Maddie's a commuter.
yeah, so we had like the ideas of all of us and
Different
like what we
inputs.
went through in FYS class, because FYS class was like teaching you like all the stuff. So we like went through like that stuff and just like
So you
stuff-
just wrote down as many things as you could think about.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like stuff that like people are like, oh, you're going to college, you need to learn to be like the X, Y, and Z and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. How about you all? Tell me about your processes.
hard.
Yeah.
We were really deep.
You were deep.
We started deep and then we got.
So you started talking about the ideas, like when they were thrown out.
No, like we have like
We, like-
ideas like home if someone's homesick or like.
Yeah.
Then we got to like giving them just a map of the campus so they know where they're going. Or I remember that like I got like a laundry bag and like a little necessity, just something like little like that. Like I still use it today.
Yeah.
So we progressed from like answers we really thought about
Okay.
to answers that were like more superficial.
Okay. And how about you all?
We kind of thought mainly academically, like
Okay.
sitting in front of.
Yeah, like I kind of thought about things that I wish somebody would have kind of told me when I was a freshman.
Okay.
And then I had to learn now, and it's like kind of too late. Like brown nosing is not a bad thing in college. It's really not.
So I will completely own that I did not set you up for success, and that was my intention. Because there's always a group that follows the instructions super well and does and writes every single thing that comes to their mind. And then there are people who tend to get half of those numbers, which is fine because I didn't give you the instructions. That was me being a good facilitator and a bad facilitator at the same time. Wow, we have a lot more hours to go, and I'm already losing my powers of speech. When you do a brainstorm, has anyone ever sat in a club meeting or a group meeting for a class? You're going to do a brainstorm of what you're going to come up with. You've set aside an hour. 55 minutes goes by, and you have 2 or 3 suggestions, and you're even more confused than when you started. Yep. That's what happens if you don't put parameters around your brainstorm. I've started doing this in work, and I've started doing this in life, and it's great. Once you've decided what your need is, what you're trying to come up with, the actual rest of the rules of brainstorming are, once you've finished brainstorming, evaluate the responses. Literally give yourself, I give you 2 minutes, a good idea is 5 to 10, to write down on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, on whatever, as many options as possible. It's okay if there are repeats. I heard one group saying, oh, we kind of already said that. Cool, still write it down. Might be similar. Eliminate responses which won't lead to the solution. Those really bad ideas. But there are no bad ideas. They're the ones that won't lead to your solution. Group some like concepts together And then you can discuss which of the remaining will be best. Putting parameters around your brainstorm will make it a little bit more fruitful because you'll have 18 options versus really complex ideas that you haven't been able to flush out. So I love that when it comes to a brainstorm. So again, like I said, I did not set you up for success. That was intentional because I like to sort of see that dichotomy. My instructions to you are to write down as many needs as possible. So now that we've gone through and actually showed you what the actual rest of the rules of brainstorming are, I want you to go back into your group and come up with one need based upon what you brainstormed. I want you to come up with one need. And we'll use this need once we get to Module 7, either today or tomorrow. So I want you to discuss amongst yourselves about what is one need that you would want to focus on for first-year students. What's your need?
Sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging. All right. Master Poe.
Do well in class.
Doing well in class. All right. And Manna.
Make campus feel at home.
Making campus feel like home. Awesome. So, like I said, we will come back to these needs in Module 7, which is the Programming and Presentations module. So I wrote them down. Whenever we get to Module 7 is when we will start to incorporate that. As we wrap up this module, however, we have some information about referrals. I know there's a reminder about sort of the common traps and stuff like that, but just want to throw out a few lovely close-ended questions. Do all situations need a referral? No? Is it possible to give too many referrals? Be overwhelmed if you give too many referrals or resources. And does it mean that you failed if the student refuses a referral? No. So true or false, hint, hint. True or false, a student or a person you're working with has the right to refuse a referral?
True.
True, yes. When it comes to referrals, make sure that the person's capable of following through with that referral. Make sure that all the information you give them about the referral is correct. Remember earlier when we watched that video about Bacchus, I was like, none of these addresses are correct anymore. This website's not active, neither is his phone number. Yeah, that was me making sure that information was correct, or at least avoiding giving out incorrect information. Nothing worse than like you're helping someone with an issue and you give them a number to call and then they get transferred out to like the bursar's office, and the bursar's office transfers them to student employment. Student employment transfers them to financial aid, and then you just get a voicemail and never get responded to. Right? Not a very good thing to have happen, and that person might not necessarily feel like following through after that point.
Jan, can I point out some other possibilities?
Yes.
So if you're referring them to BWEC, but they don't have a car and they don't have a way to get there, then that's a big barrier for them. If, I don't know that you guys would ever refer them out, but we maybe, we have to think about the possibility, like we're referring them to an outside counseling resource or something. Do they have a way to get there? Is it something that their insurance will pay for? Like there's lots of other things that can get in the way. So sometimes it may be worth like a couple of extra questions, or that does mean referring to a resource on campus to get the ball rolling to be able to ask all those other questions.
Yeah.
But there's things like we have taxi vouchers that students can take a taxi to an appointment. I mean, that gets very expensive for the student, but it is a good, first step sometimes. So.
Yeah, so that definitely goes in with that, making sure the students are feeling that they're capable of following through. Capable of they can get themselves in that place where they can say, okay, I'm going to do this, but then also literally capable as well of, is this going to be feasible for me going forward? Again, making sure all the information is correct, and then remembering that students have the right to refuse a referral. So true or false, it's possible to give too many referrals?
True.
Yes. Correct? And then true or false, a student has a right to refuse a referral.
True.
5 traps that peer educators fall into.
Too much.
Taking on too much.
Liability.
Incurring liability. Enabling.
Too
Taking on something too big. Internalizing the issue. When you get triggered, when you start feeling depressed, if you're working with someone who is saying that they have depression, which trap is that? Internalizing the issue. 5 traps of peer educators, or sorry, we just did that. The 5 roles of peer educators. Friend, educator, activist, role model, team member. Okay? 5 stages of change. Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance. Peer education impacts 2 groups of individuals on campuses. What are those groups? Peer educators themselves, campuses and communities in which they live. What else? If you have to do an ethics check, what are the 3 questions that you should ask before doing an ethics check? Is it legal? Is it balanced?
How does it make you feel?
How will it make me feel? Which of the roles of peer educators focuses on creating change? Activist. Health promotion approaches to change making. There are 3 of them. What are those? Individual. Targeted group. Community population. All good. If you were to create a tobacco-free policy on campus, what approach would that be? Community/population. So, true or false, creating a tobacco-free policy on campus would be a whatever. Yes, that. Okay, stages of change is a circular process.
True.
Correct. Sorry. Stages of change is a linear process. Oh, there we go. I was like, no, the answer shouldn't be true. Got it. Confused myself. Answer question number 1 on the test? Anything you want. I think we've hit everything so far that you might see on an exam. You're doing well. Woohoo. Sorry, got a little distracted there because this was a reminder about some of these. Too far. The last part about this module I wanted to talk about was self-disclosure. This kind of goes back to your point earlier, talking about self-disclosure. You can sometimes disclose your own success with a similar situation as long as you avoid making the conversation about yourself. That's just called narcissism. Narcissism is bad in that instance. It was a little bit narcissistic. It's fine. Make sure you just keep it short and relevant. And that is sort of, everyone find this as a flippant. Good? Yep. Self-disclosure. I remember the story of the guy in the hole from earlier. Self-disclosure is a personal choice, but if it's appropriate, it can be very impactful. All right. Module 4. Woo! It's getting close, getting close. All right. How are folks doing? We're like midway through. Let's just doing a perception check. How's it going?